just wanted to make 2 points. I always think it's funny how people are like talk about like, the Trump administration was corrupt, nepotism, Kushner. I'm like, do you guys really think this was unique to that administration? Like, do you really think do you think Hunter Biden would be where he is if not for his father? Like, do you think, Hillary would have everything she's had if it wasn't for her husband? Like, do you really think this is like unique to this administration and then it never happened before, then it happened with Trump and now it stopped? I mean, I don't really get the disconnect like there. And then the other thing we were going to say is you're talking about no more fact checking. I remember CNN used to have the death toll from COVID, remember, on the screen. And then when Trump was out, they took it down. It's like, why do you suppose that is? It's like, oh, but CNN is middle of the road network.
Yeah. And they got called out for it. And they were like, no, we didn't. Then they show like a few shows that still had it up. And then once that died down, it's like 2 weeks later, now all the shows didn't have it. And all the style sheets of the news of the news readers just went to now changing. It started as cases, then it started as hospitalizations, then went to like deaths, and then went back to hospitalizations, then went back. Now it's back at cases where it's like infections. And as you mentioned, this guy knows about the long haul. Do people understand when somebody gets a test? Is this somebody who's a long haul person? Do they just get infected, or is this now that most of the people who are at risk, they've been tested, they either had it or they've had the vaccine. So they've been tested already and they've gotten that out of the way. So of course, now that you get to the point where those people are not getting tested anymore, or they're already in the books, now you get into the younger people. They could be a younger person who had it for 6 months, and then now they're finally getting around to being tested, and you're saying, oh, you have some parts in this, or you have some detection of this, and now that's adding to the numbers. It's like, no, you started testing different people. Of course, you're going to see a different rate. Like, what is going on? And if I can think of these things, I know there's at least 50 million Americans that can think of this. There's at least millions of people in the world that can think about this, if not at least a billion. And that is a positive thing. You don't even need that many people. Just think about this. The amount of people in the literati, the amount of people in history, the amount of people currently right now who have really been going around to different places talking about these things, moving these things around. You're not battling 10 billion people. People think of like, oh, the CCP. You're not battling entire Chinese. Most of the Chinese people are good people.
Yeah.
It's like Xi Jinping and his group of like maybe 10,000 like upper top party. Like, yes, half of China is in the party, but you just have to be in the party to do anything in China. Yeah. Yes, in America, there's Democrats and Republicans. Doesn't mean they're like these evil people and you just have to, in general, to participate in society, you vote for one, you flip the coin, you're on one side of the coin. It's kind of just a general thing. The people who are actually in power controlling these things is a small number of people that have counted on your ignorance, on your apathy in order to keep doing these things. Yep. And they themselves, most of them are even not that evil. Most of them are just doing things that we let them do. Yeah. They're just opportunistic. They're willing to take advantage of a crisis for their own benefit. Yeah. If you reduce those benefits, they're still going to have many sorts of things that they can benefit on. Nancy Pelosi doesn't want people to die. No. But if some people die for her to maintain power and keep her fridge full of that $12 ice cream, she's going to be okay with it. If 10,000 people do it, she might be okay with it. If you figure out a way to make it 500 people and she still maintains the fridge, she'll be okay with it. If you figure out a way to 5 people and then she has to buy maybe one thing of ice cream a week instead of 10, I think she'd still be okay with it. Like I don't think she's like this like horrific human. That's the kind of thing where it's like the world has improved despite all these negative things, and it can still improve a lot more. But we know at least in New York City, let's see what's going to happen before we get to that improvement, because right now we're getting to some kind of dicey times, and maybe we could finally reintroduce that at the start. Now an hour in, we're getting into that. But thank you for listening. This has been a clip from an actual longer recording that I'll try to leave a link to on the screen or somewhere around here where you're listening to this.
Presents. 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 Presents.
Peasants.
Okay. Okay.